In order to understand money, we really need to understand how banks work. So I'm going to draw a picture to help us. So here's our bank. Our bank is a business. And businesses need to make money in order to exist. That's the whole point of having a business, is to make money. They need to make money in order to pay for the building, in order to pay for their employees, in order to pay for all the things they do. And they also want to make a profit so that the people who own the business make money. Now, the way that banks operate is they loan money. And when they loan money, they charge people what's called interest in order for those people to borrow the money. Right? Why would they just give them money if they're not going to make money off it? So they charge interest. And the interest is going to be a certain percentage of the amount of the loan. The other thing they do is they allow people to put money in the bank in the form of a savings account. And when people put money in the bank in the form of a savings account, they pay them interest for leaving their money there. And if they promise to leave their money there for a long time, they pay them more interest, because then they can take that money and loan it out and make money off of it. And that's how banks work. So interest is an amount of money banks charge for a loan or pay for savings accounts. Should be saving accounts. Anyway, saving. I don't know. Interest is calculated as a percentage. Of the principal. The principal is the loan or amount in savings. And interest rate is what we call the percentage of interest. Interest is the actual dollar amount. And it can also be referred to as the return. So that's a little bit to help you get used to the jargon or words that we use. So if we come back to this idea of how the bank works, if they're going to charge interest for a loan and pay interest for a savings account, what do you think they have to do in order to make money? The banks will charge a higher interest rate for loans than they will pay out for savings accounts. So we're going to use an example of $100 here to make the math really easy. So in today's market, maybe the savings account is paying out maybe 1% interest, maybe 1.5%. Right now it's pretty low. As a loan, maybe they are collecting around 4% interest. I'm going to use a car loan as an example right now. So how much money would someone make in savings if they put $100 in? $1. What about if somebody gets a loan for $100, how much do they have to pay back? $4. So the interest here, right, you would actually end up taking $101 back out at the end of your savings. And you would end up paying, if you had a loan, you'd end up paying $104 back at the end. So what would the bank's profit be? Raise your hand. So the bank is going to have a profit of $4 minus the $1. So that's a profit of $3. But they have millions of customers, right? So if they made $1 million, or if they made $3 on 1 million customers, they'd make $3 million. That would be their profit. So that gives you an idea of how a bank works. So for a bank, they pay interest for you to leave your money there, and then they take that money, turn around and loan it out to people, and they charge more interest than they're paying you so that they can loan that money out. And that's how they work. Now, today we're going to talk about this in more detail, and we're going to look at how someone named Charlayne managed to save a lot of money over time, and this idea of how the bank pays her is going to be really important. In the Time Capsule Project, under Charlayne Becomes a Millionaire, there's a presentation that we're going to go over. So when I click on the presentation link, it takes me to building wealth over the long term. So one of the first keys is to start early. It is actually never too early to start saving. And our goal in this lesson is to learn how to build wealth and to become financially independent. So build wealth to the point that you don't have to work, that you don't have to depend on anyone, that you are independently wealthy. So we're going to learn how to do that today. The first thing you do is you start right away. And I don't mean right away when you get out of college. I mean literally right away. All right? You start by going home and talking to your parents. And I'll give you some tips on what to talk to them about today. When you invest your money, invest means that you buy stocks, bonds, real estate, save cash, however you're going to actually do all of those things. As you save your money, you are going to save it in a lot of different ways. And so you'll see buy and hold. That means that you save your money by investing in things, buying the stocks and the bonds, et cetera, et cetera. And you keep your money invested for years and years and years and years and years. 30, 40 years, we're talking. And you don't touch it. That's how you build wealth. You also diversify. And what that means is you don't just buy stocks. You don't just buy bonds. You buy stocks, you buy bonds, you buy real estate, you buy, you save cash. There's a lot of different things that ways that you'll be saving, okay? You don't just save in one way. And your financial advisor will help you with this. All right, so the other thing is when you invest in stocks, you don't put all your money in one stock, and you don't put all your money in one kind of stock. You don't just invest in tech stocks or pharmaceutical stocks or retail stocks. You invest all kinds of stocks. And again, that's what your financial advisor is there to do, help you with these things. So on the next page, we're going to see what Charlayne did. So I'm going to go through this spreadsheet with you, and I want you to be able to read the spreadsheet and understand it. And you will be blogging about it. All right, so we're going to look at the first line, and you'll see that it starts off with year 0. It says year 0 because she has just started making money, so there's no money in her account yet. in her savings account. So her beginning balance is 0. She decides that she's going to put $2,080 into her account every year. So you'll see addition to principal as the amount she puts in every year. Return is the amount the bank pays her for leaving the money in the bank. So in year 0, at the end of the year, she has $2,080 in the bank, and the bank pays her $88.40 for leaving it in there. Her ending balance is the sum of her beginning balance, which was 0, the addition to principal, which is the amount she puts into the bank each year, plus the return, which is the dollar amount of the interest that the bank paid her to leave the money. So all 3 of those get added up for the ending balance for that year. So in year 1, this is the year that she actually starts off with some money in the bank, and her beginning balance came from the ending balance. Her addition to principal continues to be $2,080, and the bank is going to pay a return of $272.71. That's the amount of interest they're paying her for leaving in the beginning balance plus the addition to principal. So she left in approximately $4,000, and she ended up with a return of $272.71. This is more than twice the return of the previous year. So at the end of the first year, she had approximately $4,000. So her interest rate, which means the percentage, was based on $4,000 instead of $2,000 from the year before. So her return, or the amount of interest based on that rate, was twice as big as the amount from the year before. So we continue on to year 2, and we see the same thing happening. The ending balance becomes the beginning balance. She adds $2,080 to the principal. So she ends up with approximately $6,500, and then the return is based on the $6,500, and then all that's added together to give the ending balance of $7,000 approximately dollars. And you can see this growing and growing. So notice what happens in the return column. This is the amount that the bank is paying her. She's not earning this money. The amount in the return column is the amount the bank is paying her. Her money is earning this money. She is not. The only money she's working for is the money under addition to principal. So that $2,000 is the only amount that she's actually working for. All the rest of this money in here is money that her money is making for her over time, just leaving it in the bank. So what happens is, because the interest gets added to the previous interest and the previous balance, the interest and the previous interest and the previous interest and the previous balance all adds and adds and adds and adds. This is called compound interest. The interest is compounding, and there's actually a formula for this, which we will be learning to use later this year. So this is called compound interest, and this is how loans work, and this is how savings work. They both work the exact same way. So let's notice what happens over time. Let's go down to 20 years. At 20 years, how much interest is the bank paying her? It's paying her $9,004.96, which is over 4 times the amount that she's putting in that year. So in year 20, the bank paid her over 4 times as much as she put in, just for leaving her money there. And she has almost $116,000 at the end of year 20. Let's think about this. If she had taken her $2,000 every year and just put that in a bag at home for 20 years, what's 2,000 times 20? 40,000. She would only have $40,000 and some change. Instead, she has almost $116,000. That's what compound interest does. Let's keep going. Let's go down to the next page. and go to the very bottom of her spreadsheet. She